One of the most celebrated areas of video games are when a title provides an exceptional boss battle. For while on paper it might sound like the easiest thing to do, just have a big chat with tanky health and mad attack patterns, creating an actually decent atmosphere, providing the right amount of tension, and making sure the fight is fairly balanced is incredibly hard to do. Now, we've covered across multiple lists the times where video games managed to pull out an absolute corker of a boss battle, and while it is amazing to celebrate these lightning in a bottle moments, today we're going for a full thunderstorm, as these titles had amazing boss encounters from start to finish, and act as shining examples of how to do the industry trope right. So saddle up, drink all your potions, and buff your stuff. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games with the best boss battles. Number 10, No More Heroes. I absolutely adore the first two No More Heroes games, and no word of a lie, there was a righteous fist pump when No More Heroes 3 was announced in an utterly bizarre fashion. I mean, seriously, go and watch that trailer. Now, this deep-seated adoration comes directly from how the titles present boss battles, making the player grind through boring side quests and extreme padding before doling out some of the most intense and creative encounters going. In the first game alone, you battle a granny with a 100-foot-long gun, a sadomasochist baseball bat-wielding woman known as Bad Girl, and even a false superhero who uses every dirty trick in the book. The sheer level of humor prevalent throughout the fights makes these grinds to get there all the more rewarding, and is actually used by the game's designer Suda51 as a means of making a commentary on the nature of violence and gratification. Still, even if you're not into the actually surprisingly deep subtext of the game, there's more blood, bodies, and brilliant moments than you could shake your beam sword at. Number 9, Monster Hunter World. In its current state, and with the phenomenal Iceborne DLC that's just been released for the title, Monster Hunter World is the pinnacle of a franchise moving at pace. The climactic battles with monsters of all shapes and sizes have always been the central orbit of the series, but here it's simply beyond what anyone could have possibly ever have envisioned. The graphical oomph given to the title and the absolutely brilliant difficulty curve and the welcoming community means that even newcomers to the series have been swept up in the hype that permanently surrounds this title. Very few games would take the risk of up to half-an-hour boss battles where everything could go wrong in seconds, but Monster Hunter World makes those sort of moments appealing, where you're not just kicking yourself for not doing it right, but instead actively turning to others for advice and support in order to grow as a hunter. The ways that you can fell these beasts are myriad, and thanks to the robust selection of weapons and armor, you will find something to match your playstyle. There's nothing quite like taking down a 40-foot dragon for the first time, but it's an experience that only gets better when it's your 50th time doing so alongside some firm friends. Number 8, Dark Souls 3. Again, this was actually a truly hard pick, as From Software really doesn't mess around when it comes to boss design. Well, except for Dark Souls 2, seriously. Oh, is it another big boy in armor? Come on now. And so picking between Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Demons, Souls, and Sekiro was actually genuinely tough. However, Dark Souls 3 overall probably showcases the best that studio can give, as not only does the title provide some of the best designs for bosses, but the best atmosphere in probably any of their projects. As this is the closing act of a beloved franchise, each boss carries with it a true sense of the fading light, and each of them fights with a true sense of desperation. Now true, there are a few smelly buggers like Wolnir, but Dark Souls 3 offers us fights against the Abyss Watchers, against the old Dragon Slayer armor, the Nameless King, and of course, the Soul of Cinder. This last fight in particular is so wrought with emotion and so grandiose and spectacle, it's hard not to walk away from this fight with a huge smile on your face. I honestly can't think of a more perfect final battle for the series. Number 7, Cuphead. When your game was built from the ground up to be a boss rush title, you better make sure that your fights are up to snuff. And Cuphead, well, it delivers on its intentions in full. Its wonderful art style belies a truly brutal approach to boss battles, luring you in with its Steamboat Willie graphics before hitting you harder than the Great Depression. From plants that turn the stage into a spiky hellscape, to fighting dragons on clouds high up in the sky, all the way to descending into hell itself to battle the devil, Cuphead pulls no punches in delivering memorable moments. The best part about all of this, though, is the fact that each battle, if done correctly, will only take you about 3 minutes. However, these will be the most stressful 3 minutes of your life, as each boss will offer up a huge assortment of brutal attacks and force you to develop reaction speed so advanced that you may well end up becoming an X-Man mutant who can see into the future. Number 6, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Now this was a real challenge. How do you pick from all of the amazing Legend of Zelda games the title with the best bosses? Well, after racking my brain for ages, I turned to the community itself and found that when posed with this question, a whopping 36% of players voted Twilight Princess as the title with the most memorable and well-designed boss fights. Now, while purists might argue that the ease of these battles might mar the overall experience a little, you'd have to be a right miser to state that each wasn't well-designed and, more importantly, fun to take down. Who can forget the sheer thrill of chasing down Ganon on horseback before taking part in a truly challenging final showdown, or the absolutely unsettling tone shift when Zant finally reveals his true personality? And if neither of these are your cup of tea, what about the fact that Twilight Princess even managed to make an underwater boss fight feel utterly exhilarating thanks to Morpheal's second form? Now, Zelda games are known for their dungeon bosses, and Twilight Princess's reception with the fans shows that it clearly shone in that area. Number 5. Super Punch-Out! Very few experiences match up to the first time that you complete a Punch-Out game. Be it a climactic victory over Mike Tyson himself in the original NES classic, or battering Donkey Kong in the Wii version, each title is full to the brim of colourful characters and heart-stopping moments. However, in terms of sheer variety, style, and refined gameplay, Super Punch-Out takes the cake, as each battle beautifully rises in challenge to the point that when you come toe-to-toe with Nick and Rick Bruiser, you've more than earned your Golden Glove God status. The simplicity of the combat means that you're able to enter into a zen-like form, watching for the slightest tell and bracing yourself for a punishing counter combo. It is a title that rewards you the more that you put into it, and may see you hitting the mat 9 times out of 10, but when it clicks, there's simply nothing like it. Plus, if all else fails, you can just take out your frustrations on Gabby J. Take that, you... Number 4. Resident Evil 4. The Resident Evil series has always prided itself on its boss battles, usually being so disgusting that it's enough to leave its audience retching for hours afterwards. However, on a gameplay level, they weren't exactly much to write home about. I mean, sure, Yawn was pretty scary to look at, but thanks to the fixed camera angle and planted shooting system, bosses like this usually boil down to, can I outlast you by simply just standing here and shooting everything I've got? Well, Resident Evil 4 came along and fixed all of this. Thanks to the new over-the-shoulder perspective, bosses were even more terrifying, as now they just stormed right up into your business, and the sheer variance on offer was truly impressive. I mean, who can forget tangling with Krauser or nearly getting pulled under by Del Lago? And that moment when Mendez transformed for the first time? Utter chef kiss. The action was front and center of this title, but thanks to these encounters, Resident Evil 4 managed to hammer home sheer terror as you scramble to defend yourself against seemingly unwinnable odds. Number 3. Fury. Fury is a game that drips with confidence. Its art and sound design are immaculate, mixing glorious synthwave beats with a minimalistic aesthetic. This stripped-down approach carries over to its combat, where the player is challenged to overcome wave after wave of bullet-hell projectiles before diving into a one-on-one contest of strength. There's no gimmicks, just a pure test of skill and timing. And you know what? I absolutely adore it. It helps as well that the soundtrack is so blood-pumping that even if you lose, and trust me you will, you'll want to hop back into the fray straight away. Plus, for those who think that they've mastered the mechanics, a hidden boss fight in the form of Bernard will see you sent right back to school for how utterly insane it gets. With 9 phases, Bernard isn't just the epitome of challenge in this game, but also in most games in general. And while he is a standout moment, all of the other bosses do a fine job in pushing the player to their absolute limits. Number 2. Shadow of the Colossus. Of course this game had to make the cut, right? I mean, after all, with the Colossi forming the backbone of your entire game, it is clear that a ton of love and care was going to go into them, and my lord does it make for some truly outstanding experiences. The sheer size of any of these Colossi alone is enough to make your eyes widen, and it's almost unfathomable how such giants were programmed onto the PS2's hardware without the thing keeling over and dying. However, what rises above even the lofty visuals is how the player is tasked with taking them down. By clambering up their frames, by sneaking around and luring them into position, or even putting yourself directly in danger just for that one shot at glory, Shadow of the Colossus empowers the player in a way that many other games simply cannot. Plus, the ever-encroaching realization that you're most likely the bad guy here makes each encounter unforgettable and epically tragic. It's a real odyssey from start to finish. And number 1, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. While every ounce of my being wanted to put Metal Gear Rising on this list thanks to its utterly over-the-top action-packed boss battles, Metal Gear Solid 3 will always win out for the sheer quality of each and every encounter found within. Hideo Kojima was running on full steam with this title, as the rogues gallery that he presents here are so incredibly unique and quirky that each serves as an example of how to shake up the traditional boss battle formula. For example, the end is now infamous as not only one of the most challenging sniper encounters ever, but also thanks to the well-known ability of trying to kill him through skipping the console clock forward, making him die of old age. The sorrow becomes a punishing slog if you've murdered your way through the game, making you feel the consequence of every life you've taken, and the pain, well, he had hornets. But the best of all was the boss, whose fight proves not only to be supremely demanding, but the emotion that drenches the scene, which is amplified by the wonderful arena, and that music is one that is genuinely haunting. Thank you, Mr. Kojima. This was ace. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 video games with the best boss battles. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below, as well as your picks for your version of this list. If you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, it's my personal gaming channel where I stream every single Wednesday and Sunday. But before I go, my friends, I just want to say one thing. We detailed today a lot about video game boss battles. But you know what? You do not have to be the big bad in your own life. You deserve love, happiness, and respect, as we all do as humans. And I hope that you're succeeding in life and achieving those goals. But if you're not, remember, you're not alone in this. Get some jolly cooperation going. Summon in the form of friends, family, and professionals in the support industry. These people will help you get where you need to go because they love you and they care about you. Treat yourself with respect, and I hope you have a great day. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.